James Mangold. For many years, I have always wanted to thank you for saving the Wolverine solo film franchise from that disaster that is X-Men Origins Wolverine. And in return, I am going to give you my review for the film, my full review right now. Hey guys, this is Frozen Wish to Use here, and welcome back to another movie review. And today, I am going to be doing a review on the Wolverine. Let's get some claws on. So the Wolverine is the second installment in the Wolverine solo film trilogy and the sixth entry in the X-Men franchise overall. And it came out in the year 2013. Oh, and is in a way kind of a sequel to The Last Stand, and is directed by James Mangold, aka the best X-Men director. Bryan Singer. And it stars Hugh Jackman. It stars Hugh Jackman, Tao Okamoto, Rina Fukushima, Hal Yamauchi, Hiroyuki Sanda, Seven Dan, William Lee, Brian T, Kenya Mura, etc. Yeah, a bunch of Japanese actors. Yeah, and so the film tells a story. Of how tells a story. Well, where do I start with this? Oh yeah, starting off with World War II when Wolverine was a part of the dropping of the atomic bomb in Japan, and Wolverine has saved the life of a friend he made in the war named Yashida. He was able to help him like survive from the bomb attack when everyone else was died in it. And fast forward a few years later, which is essentially a follow up to X-Men: The Last Stand. Wolverine is dealing with the loss of Jean Grey, since he does feel very ashamed that he killed Jean Grey, even though he had no choice about to do it. And so yeah, he's having nightmares and visions about Jean, like trying to hunt him down as a payback for killing Jean, even if in his dreams Wolverine tells Jean that he will never kill her. So we got a very traumatized Wolverine, and one with a beard. And then came a hero from Japan named Yukio, who has come to the US to find Wolverine and bring him to Japan. And in Japan, he meets an older Yukio, the same guy who Wolverine saved his life in Japan, and now he's super old, and he's trying so desperate to live. And so Yukio tries to offer Wolverine. So in return, Yukio wants to help Wolverine in return, in order to save his life from. In return for Wolverine saving his life back in World War II. But then as Wolverine goes on this mission, he runs into a bunch of Yakuza who is hunting down Wolverine, and it turns out that the Yakuza has something against the mutants. So Wolverine must face up against the Yakuza and must face his big bad enemy, the Silver Samurai, who apparently wants Wolverine's powers and wants to take away his powers and make him like human. And that was like the goal of Yashida, for good or for bad. So that's a plus. So now the Wolverine is now, out of all the X-Men films, the Wolverine seems to be the one that's least talked about. Yeah, all the other X-Men films, like whether good or bad, that tend to be talked about. Like all the films in the original trilogy get talked about. All the films in the reboot trilogy, whether it's masterpieces like First Class or Days of Future Past, a film as divisive as Apocalypse, or simply Dark Phoenix and the New Mutants. But what that people have been ignoring for years and not have been talking about is the Wolverine. Now, yes, this film did get a decently positive critical, like, not I wouldn't say acclaim, but it did get positive reviews. But unfortunately, this movie is extremely ignored. Like, it's not, it's maybe the least popular one. Not by the fact that it was a box office bomb, but just by the fact that people seem to really forget about this movie. Yeah, like nobody really talks about this one. So yeah, I remember seeing the Wolverine in theaters back in 2013. It was the very first X-Men film I have ever saw in my life, and yeah, things did not go so well. If you know me so well, if you've been knowing me for years, I'm not sure if I've ever talked about this on my channel or in my community post, but yeah, I've said I think a lot of times on Instagram and Letterboxd that this is the worst theatrical experience I've ever had. Yeah, yeah, this is the worst one for like, yeah, many reasons. Yeah, yeah, what a train wreck that was. What a train wreck of a cinema experience that was. So, yeah, I watched this movie in like this new theater that turned out to be complete crap, and I saw The Winter Soldier in the same theater, which was also a terrible cinema experience. So what happened was that that I actually couldn't really finish this entire movie because I was actually watching this at a night showing, and then yeah, it was like it was this happened at the scene when Wolverine was like fighting all the Yakuzas, and like all the Yakuzas like you had their arrows, their what do you call it, the arrows, yeah, hitting Wolverine. It's like all of them, and then Wolverine just, well, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Like it's hard to describe, but yeah, after that scene, like right before the Viper fight, when Wolverine gets shot with Viper, I think somewhere around that scene, the movie gets cut. Yeah, at first it was like a brownout or something. Like the projector gets broken, the screen goes off, and they try to fix it, but apparently there was no way to resolve it, so we were forced to leave the theater, and yeah, we were forced to leave the theater, and we couldn't finish it, and I had to wait for this movie on digital in order for me to actually see what happened in the ending. So that's actually kind of miserable. Now, there are actually some recent movies where I've experienced like this, the theater being blackout, like Civil War and Challengers. But yeah, at least the projector went back on. Oh yeah, it also happened in Thor: Dark World. Yeah. So yeah, but just because I had like a horrible cinema experience, that does not mean that that the actual movie is bad quality. I mean, that would be like saying Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and Barbie suck because of bad cinema experience. Because I love all three movies. They're all in my top 50 favorite movies of all time list. Well, I'm not sure about the second about this. Oh yeah, it is. All three of them are in my top 50 favorite movies of all time. So you could imagine me saying they're bad. And yes, just because of bad theatrical experience, but even with that, I'm able to see that all of them are masterpieces in quality. And yeah, at some point I am planning to make a video about sharing my bad cinema experience, my worst cinema experiences. Yeah, but yeah, as for my thoughts on the Wolverine itself, yeah, since this movie isn't very popular, it's not really a film that I have gone back to a lot of times, but I just did today, and I gotta say, yeah, this movie is damn awesome. Yeah, I mean, this movie had a lot to live up to. If they were striving for a good Wolverine movie, because we all know how much of a failure X-Men Origins Wolverine was. Yeah, go check out that video if you haven't yet. My rant on that film, but the Wolverine is pretty much the good Wolverine solo movie we could have had. Yeah. Yeah, things. Yeah, I think the biggest credit to give is James Mangold, who just like what I said earlier, he is the best X-Men director. He is the best director for this franchise, even over you know yeah even over Bryan Singer, who was like pretty much the pretty much just like how James Gunn is running the DCU. Bryan Singer is running the X-Men, but James Mangold just James Mangold. Well, technically, it's not really because of this film, it's because of Logan, but still, the fact that he's actually consistently made two great Wolverine movies just shows how good he is at this character. You can tell that James Mangold is a true fan of Wolverine. This film features one of my favorite depictions of Wolverine, based on writing wise, because of how it takes his character in a dark and gritty approach to it. The film dives deep into Wolverine's pain, both physically and mentally. It is a character study of how Wolverine was able to endure his pain, like what I said, both physically and mentally. And the plot revolves around him visiting the past and trying to cope with it. He's basically trying to cope with two pasts. First is Jean Grey, which is basically just a plot armor showing that this is a follow up to The Last Stand, like where this stands in the timeline. But the thing he has to deal with is pretty much Yoshida, who apparently wants Wolverine's power, so that he can live. And what makes Wolverine an even more interesting character is the fact that in the prologue, it showed Wolverine being a huge part of World War II, and the fact that he was able to save someone's life, a soldier's life, from the bomb, and I mean a catastrophic event where nobody would survive that. I'm sure nobody survived that atomic bomb, but Wolverine was able to save him, and this actually makes Wolverine a kind-hearted person. He may be angry all the time, he may be mean, he may kill people, but with people like Yoshida, Wolverine shows some Wolverine shows some compassion into him because he saved him from the bomb, and it actually makes Wolverine an even more likable character than we already know. While this does have nods and references to other X-Men films, it's all in all a standalone origin story, and the references to other X-Men films make sense because, like what I said, it is a sequel to the Last Stand, where Wolverine is coping with the loss of Jean Grey. The Japan setting makes the movie itself feel more unique, because it feels like you're watching something different from other X-Men films, and it actually is sort of different from other X-Men films. The Japan setting gives off a different vibe for an X-Men movie. It's kind of like Rurouni Kenshin. By the way, I actually watched Rurouni Kenshin, the beginning on the Netflix film, which was a masterpiece. Top 15 of 2021. Should have got the best foreign film nomination, but I mean they don't nominate it unless if it's art film, so that sucks. But this movie is kind of like that film I just mentioned in some ways. I also did watch Rurouni Kenshin for my class assignment, my film class. I didn't get to review it, but one day I may. But I need motivation. This film feels like what I meant to say is this film feels like an actual Japanese movie with Hugh Jackman in it. And speaking of Hugh Jackman, his performance as Wolverine once again proves how iconic the casting choice and character is. Hugh Jackman will always be Wolverine. And also, I also saw some resemblance in Taron Egerton. Like, there were some shots of Wolverine where I looked at him and I could see his face. I was like he was making some kind of Taron Egerton face, and I looked at him and he kind of like gives off Taron Egerton vibe, and I was like, damn, Taron Egerton could actually be Wolverine in the MCU. I just hope that they take notes of that, because if there's any film in the X-Men franchise to prove that Taron Egerton should play Wolverine, it's this film right here. Like that scene when Wolverine meets Yashida, there are some shots of Wolverine that prove that Taron Egerton is actually should actually be the next Wolverine. Now, don't get me wrong, he won't top Hugh Jackman. I think nobody can dethrone Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, but that doesn't mean nobody else should get the character a try. You know. Yeah. I wish you saw. Yeah. And yeah, the film also has such a strong supporting cast that to help carry the film, especially both Mariko and Yukio. I mean, sure, the male Japanese characters were pretty good, but it's the women who's truly stole the show. Mariko is, Mariko is maybe it is like the damsel in the stress of the film, but she's still like very likable and very compassionate. Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, sure. There were times when Wolverine does annoy her, and but thankfully later on they did show some great chemistry, and I like how the film balances the screen time between both of them. Like the first half of the film, like between the second act and third acts, like half of it has Mariko taking over the screen, and then the other half has Yukio. Out of the two films, I prefer Yukio. I mean, Yukio is such a badass. I mean. Yeah, I'm glad that this movie is able to bring in a badass female warrior, and I'm always a sucker for you know these samurai, like female samurais and stuff like Anna Sawai in Shogun. Oh yeah, in fact, this movie can also be compared to Shogun. Of course, not by quality, but just by kind of like the vibes of it all. Like it almost gives us Shogun vibes. And even though I know this movie came first, but and quality wise, Shogun obviously just like topples over this one in every way. But still, yeah, Wolverine gives off vibes like pretty much any samurai movie. But that's actually what makes this movie feel like its own thing, which I already mentioned that, but I'm just saying. Yeah, and and of course you got the action scene, which I think is some of the most unique action scenes. Maybe not my favorite, because now these action scenes are that rewatchable. Like they're not really action scenes that I would just think about for like the rest of my life. But based on the uniqueness in choreography, it's just really good. Like the action scenes are more grounded and realistic and more gritty. Yeah, sure, we got like that bullet train fight with like Wolverine like flying and trying to make that Superman pose with his claws like pointing forward and like yeah, that was actually really cheesy. But that's just like a 1 second scene. But all the fights in this movie, yeah, they feel like so gritty. Like probably some of the grittiest PG-13 action film I've ever seen. I wish this movie was rated R, honestly. Like, it feels like it came close to being an R rating, but I don't know what Fox was thinking, making this one PG-13. Yeah, that scene when, that scene with, action scene is my personal favorite. Since, I know I'm not very specific, but I'm just trying to find words to describe the action scene. Oh, yeah. Basically that scene when Wolverine tried to like make this operation in himself, like he is like laying on the Yatonaga, what's his name? Sorry, damn, this Wi-Fi is slow. Oh yeah, whatever. Yeah, that bed, that really cool technological bed where he was like trying to perform this operation. Oh yeah, Yashida, that's his name. Yeah. Yashida, basically, he was, he tried to like perform this operation himself, where like he like pretty much dies for like a few seconds, and meanwhile, Mariko's brother is there. I forgot his name, but yeah, the brother, and basically Yukio and Mariko's brother were like fighting, and and then Wolverine. And then Wolverine like steps in and is like, "Don't hurt my friend." Oh, by the way, the dialogue here is excellent. Like I like the dialogue here, like, "Don't hurt my friends," And also we get Wolverine fighting him, and I'm actually not sure who exactly it was, if it was really Mariko's brother, but I guess so because they did mention it during the fight scene. Yeah, Yukio was a badass, like for sure, but when Wolverine stepped in the fight, man, things just became really dark. And of course, we get to what is probably my favorite line in the film, where like both Wolverine and Mariko's daughter like stabs each other, and no, Mariko's brother. Sorry, why am I messing things up? Honestly, guys, I'm actually feeling a little bit tired. This is why I'm kind of my mind is a little bit iffy right now. So please bear with me. Please do not shit on this video. Yeah, just forgive me, but I'm sorry, but yeah. Basically he was like, what kind of monster are you? When he saw that Wolverine was like healing Wolverine to, when Wolverine's wounds were healing, and Wolverine's just like, I'm the Wolverine. Yeah, that was a badass sick moment, and how he like made that like title drop, that is so cool, man. Alright, so yeah, now let's get into some flaws I have in the film, because this movie is not perfect and certainly ain't a masterpiece. The beginning of the film did have some pacing issues, particularly with like Wolverine like out in the woods and in the bar. Yeah, pacing there was a little weak. Like it felt rushed and slow at the same time. Like, and it was like kind of draggy. But of course, the pacing was able to pick up when Wolverine went into Japan. But of course, I think we can all agree that the final battle was like, oh dear God. Like, here's the problem with the final battle. James Mangold wanted this film to be dark and gritty, and all the action scenes we got in this film were dark and gritty. Whether it's that action scene, Wolverine versus the Yakuza, and that funeral, I think. Yeah, they fought the bullet train fight. Yeah, a little bit has a bit of goofiness to it, but it's still all in all just grounded. But it was actually very self-aware on what kind of tone that action scene wanted to be, and trying to make sure it doesn't take away the kind of tone this film was trying to be. And the Wolverine versus the Yakuzas were like really cool. Like some of the darkest action scenes, like the grittiest ones for a PG-13 movie. Well, then we get to Viper. When Wolverine was taken to her lab, oh dear God. Like, we get this really silly fight with Viper, which, by the way, Viper is extremely wasted. And apparently the main villain of this movie is called a Silver Samurai. Like, you could have just made him like just a samurai armor guy, like regular armor, like, you know, like costume. Oh, but no, it had to be a robot mech suit. Ha ha ha! Like seriously, why would you make the Silver Samurai a giant robot in a gritty movie? And it was just far too goofy. And Yashida as the villain does not work for me. Like it felt so like shoehorned in last minute. And yeah, the fact that he was so nice to Wolverine in World War II, but then all of a sudden he'd become like an asshole. Like he actually wanted to antagonize Wolverine, even though Wolverine technically saved his life. And apparently he wants to take Wolverine's powers just so he wants to steal Wolverine's powers because he saved his life. Like that does not make any sense at all. Oh, but at least that final battle. The only thing I liked about the final battle is that line when Wolverine defeats Yashida. He was like, "You want to say goodbye to me? Sayonara." I mean, you wanted me to come here to say goodbye? Sayonara. Yeah, that was such a badass defeat moment right there. But I mean, even Yashida, like on that mech suit, it looks so ridiculous. Like, it felt like a Wolverine fighting the Ironmonger. Like that didn't really, that wasn't a very good resemblance to the tone of the rest of the film. So overall, the Wolverine is such a great follow up that improves on X-Men Origins Wolverine. while it's not a perfect movie due to the third act fumbling, this film is still a lot of fun while being grounded and gritty at the same time. Great performance from Wolverine, great new characters. Man, I wish we saw more Yukio in this franchise and not just this one. Yeah, I wish we saw more of her, and yeah, but James Mangold's direction is the standout aspect of the film. Yeah, I feel like the third act had some obvious studio interference there. So with that said, I'm going to give the Wolverine 4 stars out of 5. Great movie. Yeah, I wish people would talk about this one more. So yeah, so also for my review of the Wolverine, yeah, I am aware it wasn't one of my favorite reviews. It's not, it wasn't that great, but hey, at least I'm still okay with the final product. At least I'm self-aware and very honest. So anyways, yeah, what are your thoughts on the Wolverine? Do you really like this film as much as I do? Do you not care about this film and find it to be extremely forgettable? Or do you think that this movie is bad? Like, what are your specific thoughts on the film? Like, so yeah, comment down below, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for, well, my next X-Men review is Logan, but yeah, I'm actually gonna be seeing Logan on Saturday. Yeah, my next review might be my rant on Despicable Me 4. If I can find a way to watch it online. But oh boy, get yourself excited for it. So yeah, bye guys.